The Privy. This story is not just about toilet humour. It's that moment we're all familiar with, a pause in the day, a break from reality and some time for yourself. We've all been there. I'm looking at you too. Morning. The sun is only just peeking over a row of identical terrace house roofs. The streets are silent, minus a few birds doing their morning chirps and songs. Tucked away in one of the houses is Nora, sitting upon the throne with the bathroom door open. She's fully dressed and slumped against the wall with her eyes closed, almost as if she's fallen asleep. After a few moments she stirs and is wearily awake. Woken early again. In the last few years I've become both restless and yet incapable of productivity. It's as though I'm awake and the world is spinning around me and I'm barely pushing through to do the ordinary day-to-day tasks. The only time the universe stops spinning is when I'm sat here whilst everyone else is at peace sleeping. I don't do anything when I'm sat here. I just sit and think. Sometimes I don't even think, I just exist. There's an eerie silence about the place, but I find the still, cold, frosty mornings oddly comforting. Sitting upon the john is the only time I feel I'm in control of things. Never lasts long, but I savour the moments. I was startled awake this morning, remembering that today I have a challenging day ahead of me. We've been struggling for some time, really, in our marriage and finances. Although more income isn't going to solve everything, I can't help but think it'll help some parts of our lives. Bill and I did have a happy marriage at first. We were adventurous, spontaneous even. I'm not sure when that really stopped. I'm not sure if it's even stopped. It's just things feel different to how they were back then. Everyone used to say how well matched we were. Well, everyone except my mother-in-law, and that didn't bother us. I always thought that no one got along with their in-laws, especially women with their mother-in-laws. After all, you're always going to want to mother your children, regardless of the age of them. It's just surely one day you realise your place and role in your adult child's life. A little over a year ago, a family moved in next door. They're not too dissimilar to ourselves, and the in-laws are always over, just helping out or popping in for a cuppa on the way to town. That's when I realised that they're not just there to scrutinise you and pick holes in your self-esteem until you just conform to their way of living and thinking, even if it's completely shredded your own identity. Day. Nora is pacing in a small toilet cubicle, clearly panicked. Occasionally she stops and leans her hands against the wall, looks down and does some deep breathing to try to compose herself. Breathe. Breathe. Just breathe, for goodness sake. They're just people too. Sometimes I wonder how I unravelled and ended up in this mess. Back before life ran away from me and society's norms and expectancies took over, I would have strode into this interview with my head held aloft and said, "I'm here, you're welcome." Instead, I'm sat in here riding the porcelain bus. For those gentler souls among you, I am indeed referring to the lavatory. I just needed to clear my head, give myself a moment to calm my nerves and not to overthink things. It's just I really need this job. The kids are getting older and not relying on me so much, and money only ever seems to get tighter. Causes stress for us all and things are getting a bit rock bottom. Though the extra money is the main motivation, it isn't the only thing. Since marrying Bill and having the children, I've lost my purpose and self-worth. I know what you're all thinking. Well, raising children is the most important job in the world. And so everyone tells me. But does that truly mean you have to give up every aspect of your life? Evening. Nora storms into the bathroom, slamming the door behind her. She's enraged and lets out silent screams. After a few minutes, she gathers more composure, though still angry about something, and sits upon the edge of the bath. She just can't keep quiet, can she? She has to go on and on about how Julia has everything. She's doing so perfectly in life, isn't she? It's always, my daughter Julia has just got this or just done that. Then she goes, yes, well, my Julia has me over all the time. They've even got a spare room for me to stay there, while still having one for each of the children. I muttered under my breath, well, good for perfect Julia. What she doesn't bend over and blind us all from all that sun shining out her arse. Oh, I hate Julia. She's got the perfect house and kids and devoted husband. She's head of the PTA and her children learn musical instruments. Worst part is I don't really hate her. I actually like Julia. She's kind and caring and a great aunt to my kids. It's a mother's incessant use of her to put us down that gets to me. I told her I went to a job interview today and that they've offered me the position, thinking that for once she'd be happy for us. All I got was, well, how could you? It's like abandoning your children and household duties to work. Just last week she was ranting on and on about how I don't contribute enough and my children are going to suffer because of it. How it's awful that we rent a 2-bedroomed house and should have bought a 3, if not 4-bedroom one. Jesus Christ, woman, we're barely surviving as is, and don't you think we prefer more space for everyone? Anyway, she just kept going on how I shouldn't expect her to be helping out with my children, and categorically she will not be contributing her time towards babysitting. Oh, well, I snapped then. I pointed out that firstly she had never been asked, and that the boys were 10, 8 and 7 years old now, so hardly babies. I then went on to say, in haste I might just add, how if she'd bothered to ask, she'd have known that the small office clerk job I got today at the local primary is from 9 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. So her services, which have never been available to us without huge emotional costs, and her constant reminders how she's done us that favour once 4 years ago so we could attend a funeral, were neither needed or indeed wanted. The last thing I need is her around more often. Anyway, to cut a long story short, she looked like steam was going to billow out of her ears and was ready to storm right out as Bill just walked through the front door. He's talking to her now. So I came here to let out my frustrations in the only place I get peace in this house. Night. Everything has gone dark and quiet again. You can only make out silhouettes in the lavatory because the low glimmer of a street light outside is shining dully through the window. You can make out the silhouette of Nora sitting down. She's square and sat upright as if she sat on a throne. Oh, it feels like that day's gone full circle because I'm back here on the loo, sat in complete silence with only the street lamps outside shining through the window creating silhouettes. The bath tap slowly dripping is one of the only noises I can hear. Well, that and the soft deep breaths of Bill in a deep sleep. I find the monotonous repeating of these sounds comforting as I lean against the cold wall while sat here thinking about what the future will bring for our family. Today has been a satisfying day. For the first time in a while, I feel like the world's not all stacked up against us. And though I'm weary and tired from the day's events, I feel alive once more.